Remember, there's disruption across the world. The biggest disruption is in the form of flight operations being affected. In India too, there have been several flights. Anything that flies through the Middle East has now been cancelled. Flight operations have been suspended by major airlines, and this war has crippled flyers across airports. Millions now remain stranded at airports in Dubai, in Doha as well. Air India has cancelled over 20 flights to and from the Middle East, even via the Middle East. Air India in its statement says safety of passengers and crew is the highest priority. Indigo has also cancelled its flights to Middle East right up until March 2nd. Etihad has suspended all flights to and from Abu Dhabi. Qatar Airways has cancelled flights to and from Qatar. Now, obviously, the Middle East airlines have all cancelled their flights. If you have a flight out from anywhere in the country that flies through the Middle East or to the Middle East, do check your flight status, because most of the flights right now have been cancelled either as a precautionary measure or simply because the airspace has completely been closed off for the time being. So it's not just, domestic airliners like Air India and Indigo that's called off flight ops right now. Most of the Middle East airlines are not functioning, and this could go on for the next 24 hours and more. This is, in fact, the biggest impact that this war has had on flight operations across the world. There are many Indians who are also stranded at these airports in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Obviously, the Gulf has a huge Indian population as well. But at these airports, for anyone who's stranded, I'd like to again highlight that the government is doing everything they can to reach out to them. Embassies are actively in touch with many of these Indians. And there was a communication also that came in earlier today that for any visa issues, to extend it to ensure that they're not left stranded at these airports, the government is stepping in. Embassies are actively working on communicating with all stranded Indians. And again, for any of you who have a flight to catch in the next 24 to 48 hours, ensure you track the flight movement and track all updates coming in, because if it's flying to the Middle East, via the Middle East, in all likelihood, that flight has been cancelled, especially if it's any of the Middle East airlines. It's definitely at this point cancelled. There have been individual communications from Qatar Airways, from Emirates, from Etihad, that for the next 24 hours their flight ops remain suspended. There are constant communications coming through, and do tune into India Today, because we'll continue to get you all of those updates, all of the live communications that are coming in from these airlines and from the government. We're constantly flashing it on our screens as well to get you those updates of what's happening on flight ops. It's happening across the world right now, because if you look at really what the flight movement looks like currently around Iran and in many of the Middle East countries, it's completely empty. No flight flying over these areas, because the airspace has also been temporarily closed off, keeping in mind the fact that we've been seeing all these missile strikes, counter-attacks by Iran and drone strikes too. Most defense systems have been activated to ensure that any incoming drone attack or missile attack is immediately intercepted. So in such a situation, there is no way flights can actually fly through these particular pockets and these airspaces. Expect this to continue, and this inconvenience to continue for the next 24 hours at least, because there's still a huge amount of unpredictability of what the situation could look like in the next 24 hours. And this is something that's obviously completely out of our hands right now. It all depends on what we see in the next 24 hours. Looking at least at what's happened in the last few hours, it doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of ease up in the counter strikes by Iran, which is causing a concern that this could lead to a much longer halt of flight operations over the Middle East. And I'll just bring your focus to the images on the extreme right of your screens. This is from the Dubai International Airport, which was also hit by an Iranian drone. This is one part of the airport, and while we don't want to spread panic here on India Today, I will highlight that this footage shows the impact of that particular strike inside the airport. In all likelihood, this was debris of the drone that managed to hit pockets of the Dubai airport. In Abu Dhabi too, there have been reports of some strikes very close to the airport, and unfortunately a few casualties, about 2 people who've also died in these strikes in Abu Dhabi as well. I'll bring in Anmol Bali, who's joining us live from the IGI airport in Delhi for a quick update on what's really happening. Anmol, I hope there's no chaos at airports for passengers, who are wondering what's happened to their flight. Are they left stranded? Are they left waiting at these airports?
Akshita, currently I'm here at Delhi's IGI airport. Passengers are clueless, confusion and chaotic visuals are here at the IGI airport, where I'll show you the departure board behind me, which clearly shows disruption of flight movement across the South Asia and West Asia, because we have seen after US and Israel have launched a strike against Iran, and after the death of Ayatollah Khamenei and Iran's retaliation towards Israel and other Arabic nations, various of the flights have been cancelled towards the West Asia and towards the Middle East, where I'll clearly show you that a flight towards Sharjah is cancelled and other flights towards Dubai here you can see clearly is cancelled, and other flight towards Doha is cancelled, and not only flights towards Middle East but other flights towards the UK, Europe, and other North American countries like US and Canada are also cancelled because of the Middle East, which is now has turned into a war zone. The airspace of 11 Middle East nations have been now totally paused. Flight movements have been paused there due to the war kind of situation. And but we are seeing here at the airport that people are confused. People have come here from the far places to board their flights, but now what they are being told by the airlines that their flights have been cancelled and they are asking for refund. And clearly you can see behind me in the departure board, Akshita, I have shown you that not only flights towards the Middle East are cancelled, but flights towards even UK, US, and Canada are also cancelled, because the Middle East is one of the transit point of the flights towards the Europe, and now various flights either will be moving via the Central Asia and then they will be entering Europe, or people will wait and people will be demanding their refund amid this chaotic scenes at the airports.
Okay,
Akshita.
thanks, Anmol, for joining us with those details.